This is Saint Thomas Becket's Day, the 5th day of Christmastide, 5th day of Christmas, and Saint Thomas Becket here was Archbishop of Canterbury. And we see that his feast day here, December 29th, he was martyred on December 29th, 1170. He was killed by 4 knights of King Henry II. And King Henry II afterward performed penance there at his tomb on July 12th, 1174. Becket's shrine was destroyed by King Henry VIII in 1538. So that would almost be 400 years later. Since King Henry VII, now that's King Henry VII, the father of King Henry VIII, gave the bloody vestment of Becket's martyrdom to the Pope about 50 years prior to the shrine being destroyed. The vestment was able to be brought back to England in 2020 at the 850th anniversary of Becket's death and the 800th anniversary of the creation of the shrine of Saint Thomas Becket. So why Saint Thomas Becket was killed? This is an interesting question here. Becket's early vocation was that he worked under King Henry II as Lord Chancellor as he greatly advanced the interest of King Henry's income and kingdom. Becket and King Henry II became friends, and Becket became the Archbishop of Canterbury, as was confirmed by a council of bishops and noblemen. Becket resigned from being Lord Chancellor, affirmed the right and privileges of the Church, and worked to eliminate the powers of the state's courts over the English clergy. A series of other disputes emerged between King Henry II and Saint Thomas Becket over the roles of church and state. And this is where the problems really emerge here. So how Saint Thomas Becket was killed. After having been charged with contempt of royal court and given edicts against Saint Thomas Becket by King Henry II, King Louis VII of France gave Becket protection. Pope Alexander III provided legates that reached a compromise between Becket and Henry II, so Becket could return home. King Henry II had a co-king/heir apparent crowned with several bishops in violation of Canterbury's privilege of coronation, and so St. Becket excommunicated all 3 bishops. Excommunicated all 3 of those bishops. King Henry II spoke out of anger with his knights, and his knights killed St. Thomas Becket with their swords. So that's the story there. St. Thomas Becket was basically a champion of, in a sense, a champion of church privilege and the rights of the church over the state in many regards. And he met with a lot of conflict there, and King Henry II, he had some very hostile words there, and toward the end, and his knights took action on those words and killed St. Thomas Becket. And so this has been a matter that has sort of wedged itself in history there, and you see later on that King Henry VIII, as I mentioned earlier, actually, I guess, went so far as to remove St. Thomas Becket's name from all society that he could, and made it so that people didn't really remember so much Saint Thomas Becket, and so it kind of shows you here how sometimes if you're a saint, I mean, everybody might be against you. Maybe the king might be against you, and what happens there is that in the end, things have a way of showing the real story on who's right and who's wrong and that sort of thing. But really, this has kind of gone one way and another through history and back again. So it has been the case that you really do see a lot of value in this, though. I mean, Saint Thomas Becket, he really fought for the rights of the church there, the privilege of the church. And I know that when you look at it closely, there's a lot of details in how this all worked out. And like I say, before that, St. Thomas Becket was pretty much like the friend of the king, as it were. I think even one of the king's sons, it was said that St. Thomas Becket took him in and I guess raised him or helped raise him even, because I guess it was customary that noblemen would have other noblemen help raise their sons or something. So, I mean, this was somebody that the king obviously cared about initially there, and especially with St. Thomas Becket and his strong roots and statesmanship and taking care of the king's affairs. But when he got deeper into church life with being the Archbishop of Canterbury, then he really worked to do what was right for the church, and as he understood it, and so it was his devotion that really brought him to martyrdom. He was not going to be willing to sacrifice the privilege of the church and rights of the church in favor of what King Henry II wanted.